Our next two presenters will continue to talk about busting the warehousing myth. Bonney Brown will join us. She's the executive director of the Nevada Humane Society. She has a partnership with her Animal Care and Control Agency, and the two working together have combined for a live release rate of about 88% in Washoe County, which is the Reno area. Prior to coming to Nevada Humane, Bonney was the chief operating officer for Best Friends Animal Society.
Go over our county-wide statistics for Washoe County, Nevada. Then I'm going to talk briefly about our practices and policies that have increased adoptions and enabled us to save more lives than ever before in our community. And lastly, I'll talk about promoting pet adoptions and how we do that. These are, first I should tell you, we're actually an open admission animal shelter. We have a contract with Washoe County. We at Nevada Humane Society take all the owner-surrendered animals, and Washoe County Regional Animal Services rescues the strays. And at the end of their whole period, we do all the adoptions. So if the animals are going to get adopted, they're taken from Animal Services by us or by another rescue group in the community. These are Nevada Humane Society's adoption statistics. We became a no-kill shelter in the beginning of 2007, and at the same time, we also set the goal of creating a no-kill community. So for us, those two things have worked in tandem, and you can see from the time that we undertook our no-kill initiative that we dramatically increased adoptions. You've heard a lot of speakers talk about this. It's critically important to do that, to keep animals moving through the facility quickly. These are county-wide statistics. You can see that when we increased adoptions, the number of animals dying in shelters decreased very dramatically and very immediately within the first year. This is our county-wide save rate. As you can see, again, every year we have continued to improve that. Last year, saving 90% of all the dogs and 89% of all the cats that came into any of the shelters in our community. These are our incoming animal statistics at Nevada Humane Society. These do not include the animals coming into Animal Services that are returned to owner or are euthanized there at Animal Services. Primarily, that is due to either a serious medical condition or an animal that we believe poses risk to the community. These are Nevada Humane Society's intake numbers, and you can see from 2006 that the number of owner-surrendered animals has actually decreased, while the number of animals that we're pulling from Animal Services has increased. Another way that we like to look at it is deaths per thousand. In our community in 2009, it was 3.8 animals per 1,000 residents compared to a national average of about 10.2 animals. We also try to look at it, we look at our shelter admissions, and for us it's higher than average in Washoe County with about 36 dogs and cats per 1,000 people. Now what I'd like to chat with you about, that I've shared with you our statistics, is the policies and practices that we use that we feel have been key for us in dramatically increasing the pet adoptions in our community. One of the main ones for us is goals. We have found that goals have a wonderful way of uniting and inspiring people. So what we do is we set a specific goal for adoptions for every month or for every adoption event. And more than that, we let everybody know about the goals. We post them in the shelter, we include them in news releases, and we ask the staff and volunteers and the community to help us meet these adoption goals. And we make it really clear that in doing so, people are actually helping to save lives. For example, for Home for the Holidays, we had set a goal of adopting out 1,000 pets, and we were able to adopt out 1,089. Another one of our keys, one of the ingredients that we feel has been critical to our success, is that we celebrate each adoption. We ring a bell, and everybody whatever you're doing, you stop for a minute and you pause and you clap and you join in the celebration, because it reminds all of us of what we're doing there every day, which is about saving lives and getting animals into great new homes. And it has another added benefit. It helps the pet adopter to feel really special. Earlier you heard Suzanne Kogut talk about hearty thanks, and I think that's something that we owe to our adopters as well. They should leave feeling really great about that experience. We also try to congratulate everybody when goals are met. For example, when we met our Home for the Holidays goal, we sent out a news release to thank the community. The great thing about celebrating is it helps give people motivation to meet that next goal. We work really hard to make the shelter have a welcoming atmosphere. Our goal is to make it really easy for people to come to our shelter and fall in love and adopt a pet. So one of the things that we do is encourage the community to visit the shelter even if they are not necessarily looking to adopt. The extra attention, it's really great for the animals. And also that way your visitors are more likely to tell friends and family members about the great experience they had with a really cute pet that they saw down at the shelter. So you have this word of mouth factor, which is incredibly powerful PR. And the goodwill that it creates in the community really helps to develop community support, which we all need to do our work. We also train staff and volunteers to greet every single person entering the shelter with a smile, and to make eye contact with that person and to ask them a question, preferably one that can't easily be answered with yes or no. So for example, how can I help you, or what sort of pet are you looking for, is better than can I help you, because they can just say no and move on. We try to keep people in the shelter for longer periods of time as well once we get them there, by providing places for people to sit and encouraging interaction with the animals. We provide toys and brushes in the cat rooms, and there are dog exercise areas. And we really strive to give people easy access to interacting with the animals in the shelter. Another key component for us is to make the shelter a festive and fun place, not a dry and sterile place. And we tag on to holidays, and we use decorations, and we try to have fun activities, and we provide refreshments. All of these things encourage visitors not only to come, but to spend a little bit of extra time. And you might think that would be expensive, but it really isn't, because if you ask your volunteers, they are thrilled to participate in this way and help you out. For us, our adoption counselors play a dual role. It's pretty obvious to all of us that we have adoption counselors to look out for the well-being of the animals and to ensure that they're going to great new homes. But equally important, we feel that they're there to provide quality customer service to the visitors and potential adopters. Their goal is to help every person entering that facility find the perfect pet and adopt them. Our adoption counselors are trained to look for ways to make the adoption work rather than to look for reasons to deny the adoption. And when you think about it, it's critically important that we make this adoption experience pleasant for people. For us, pet adoptions are a daily thing. It's almost kind of humdrum. We expect it. We know every day we're going to go into work, we're going to see pet adoptions, we hope. For the average person, they may adopt a pet, 2, 3 times in their lives. There's many people out there who have yet to set foot into a shelter. So for that reason alone, it's critically important to us that we realize what a special experience, what a big deal this is for the person coming into your facility to adopt, and that we do all we can to make them feel good and to feel that this was a rewarding experience, because there is no substitute for that kind of positive reaction that you get when people tell other people what a great experience they had adopting a pet from your facility. So when we hire staff, we're not just looking for people who love animals, we're looking for people who really like people. We open our shelter when people are available, and Suzanne Kogut talked about this morning. I actually have a retail background, and I can tell you there's not a single successful retail store anywhere that isn't open nights, weekends, and holidays. And so if you expect to be getting the pets out there and meeting the needs of your community, you also need to find a way to do that. And also, as Suzanne pointed out, you can do this by shifting your hours. When you consider it, you have someone in there cleaning and caring for the animals on a holiday. It doesn't take much more to open the facility for pet adoptions. Also, just shift back. How many people are really coming in at 10 a.m. to adopt? Probably not many. But I can tell you, when I got there, they used to close the shelter at 4. We now stay open until 6:30, and the bulk of our adoptions happen between 4:30 and 6 p.m. Oh, I should have also mentioned to you that we try to open on holidays. We open all but 2, in fact. And on New Year's Day in 2009, we opened for the first time for just 6 hours. And we notified the media that we were going to celebrate the first pet adoption of the year. And you know, they always do the first baby born in the year. Well, we did the first pet adoption. And there's not that much going on for the news media on January 1st, so they came down and they were on TV and it was in the newspaper, and we adopted out 49 animals in just 6 hours by opening on New Year's Day. Another key part, which I'm sure you're all aware of, is the wonders of off-site adoption. Statistically, very few people get their pets from animal shelters. A lot of people just don't even think about it. Other people have these horrible perceptions that shelters are dingy and dirty, and that it's going to be depressing, and that they're going to have to look at sick animals or poorly behaved. So when you get these animals out in front of people and they can see what really, truly great animals you have, you overcome all of that, the inertia and the perhaps negative perceptions some people might have about shelter pets and adoption. We also work with PetSmart, and we have cats in residence off-site. If you don't do that, you might contact your local store. If you don't have a PetSmart, talk to your local pet supply store. They may be willing to house a few cats for you. We actually allow them to do the adoptions along with our criteria, and it works very well. Every year for the past 3 years now, we've been doing a joint super adoption event in our community. We plan it at Nevada Humane Society along with the SPCA of Northern Nevada and along with several local businesses. In fact, for the last 2 years, Walmart has actually given us the entire front section of their parking lot in front of their store on a busy Saturday when they have 12,000 people come through the store. And it's a great way to get everybody working together in the community. We invite all the rescue groups. It's a lot of fun. We get a lot of animals adopted very quickly. It's not as expensive as you might think. Best Friends Animal Society has a great little guide on their website on how to plan a community super adoption event, and that's what we model ours on. Another thing that we found to be a key to success is we do not buy into that outmoded concept that impulse adoptions are bad. Studies have proven that that's not true, and if you just think about it yourself, you know it's not true because, well, we sometimes see people doing things that we don't think are great. We also know that every human is capable of good impulses. People do positive, good, and noble things all the time. And so there's no reason to assume that the same is not true. I mean, how many of you, I bet every one of you has probably on impulse helped an animal, helped another person. So we shouldn't assume of others that they're not capable of these same kinds of positive impulses. We really, really encourage the public to interact with the animals. We invite them to touch them, in fact, and to spend time with them and to fall in love with them. The animals enjoy the attention, but there's a really important reason for doing it. Now, you can still find some very traditional folks who will tell you that you should be minimizing the public's contact with the animals, but I think that this is a mistake because humans being humans, we need to have personal contact in order to fall in love, in order for the bond to form. So you have to facilitate that and find a safe way to do that in your shelter. Keep in mind that when the animals are receiving touch and attention, that it's actually reducing their stress and thereby elevating their immune system, because stress is the enemy of your immune system, and you can counteract some of the negative effects by encouraging people to use hand sanitizer and having it all over the place and being sure that they're reminded by staff and volunteers to sanitize their hands between touching the animals. Now, the way the animals are housed makes a huge difference to our way of thinking. Cat housing should allow people to touch and interact with the cats. And let's see if I can get the pointer to work. This is the traditional cat housing that's in our shelter, and yes, we use it, but many more cats get adopted out of these showcase cages that we have placed out here, and the cat colonies. And I will talk about those in a second. We have, you heard Jan Scarlett talk in detail about how you need to be moving the animals through the shelter. And we have a very specific written protocol for how both dogs and cats move through our facility. And it's critically important to life-saving that it be timely. When you hit these bottlenecks, you are costing lives. So we are constantly analyzing and refining that process. Animals that have some issues may actually be fast-tracked into more advantageous settings, but basically the longer an animal has been there, the more individual attention for publicity they get, and the more advantageous their placement within the shelter becomes. Cat colony rooms, as I think Mike talked about very convincingly, are a great way to get cats adopted. People get to interact with them in a very natural way. We also find that they're a lot easier to clean and much healthier for the cats. The majority of cats that we adopt out in our shelter are adopted from the colony rooms or from the showcase cages, which are in very prominent and easy to touch locations. The poor cats that first come in and end up in the glass cages, they get adopted much less readily, and our shelter's only 4 years old, and that's what it was primarily built with. So I can't really encourage you enough to enable people to interact with these animals. This is a room that we converted, and you can see we actually created two more colony rooms in our shelter. This is a countertop that gets the cats up at just about this level. And this colony room in particular has more cats adopted than any of the others, even though 2 of the others actually have indoor-outdoor access. And the reason we feel is because of the shelving is right at the perfect, this countertop is right at the perfect height for people to interact with the cats. It just is really amazing. And the cost of converting the colonies is not, it does not have to be expensive. In fact, it's been really very, very cheap for us. We had some volunteers who created these structures. What they actually are is ladders, and they're fully sealed and painted. Very cheap, and it provides the cat vertical climbing space, which cats like. The more vertical space you have, the more animals you can house in a healthy manner in the room. Cats like getting up high. It gives them peace of mind and reduces their stress. And when I first got there, they had all these scratching posts, but those are disease traps, you know, with the carpeting and everything. We also use the hide, perch, and go boxes. We were actually lucky to be selected as one of the test shelters for them, but we find they work especially well for shy and frightened cats. And I don't have time to go into it, but both Pet Finder and Petco Foundation have information on this program. They're great for cats. It really provides for a lot of their needs in terms of having a place to get up and a place to hide. For dogs, a critical aspect is getting them out of the kennels. We have pretty traditional kennels, so for us, the emphasis of getting the dog out into the shelter, preferably wearing an Adopt Me vest so everyone knows he's looking for a home, is great for the dogs, and it facilitates that touch, that human interaction that you need to make a good adoption bond. We also charge reasonable fees for pet adoptions. I think sometimes we have in our head this concept that money can actually ensure a good home, but that's not true. Money does not buy love. Again, I think we actually all intuitively know this. If it did, we wouldn't be seeing purebred dogs in our shelters. We have in our community a puppy mill store, as I call it, and they sell puppies for $800 and up, and we see them on a regular basis. So if money were the key, we wouldn't be seeing those dogs. In fact, studies have shown that a good adoption match is the key, and the things you want to be looking for is that bond between the person and the pet, and that if you can provide the person with some knowledge about animal behavior, and if you can ensure that their expectations of the pet are reasonable, you are going to have far more successful adoptions than if you grill people and try to cross all the T's and dot all the I's. Ensuring those three things is much more important. We have found that reducing adoption fees increases pet adoptions. It's enabled us to save a great many more lives. And on the plus side, it has increased our community support. When you think about it, the public expects you, wants you to be saving the lives of these animals. And when you do, you can trumpet that success and you can ask them for more help, financially and otherwise, so that you can continue to save lives. One thing I forgot to mention, many people say to me, well, isn't it very expensive when you ramp up adoptions? And I can tell you, no, it is not. Think about your shelter costs. Many of them are fixed costs. After all, you've got the heat on, the lights on, you've got the adoption counselor standing there. If you can increase your efficiency and your effectiveness, you can increase your life saving with little or no additional cost. Also, sometimes people worry about free adoptions or fee-waived adoptions. In fact, in 2009, the Journal of Applied Animal Welfare Science did a study, and this is actually a page from CatWatch, where they recount this study. I can email it to anybody who would like to see it. And in it, they conclude, what they did was they examined cat adopters who adopted cats for free and compared them to cat adopters who adopted cats for $75. And what they found is that there was absolutely no statistical difference in the bond and caring that this person had for the cat, whether they paid nothing or whether they paid $75. And they went on to conclude that implementing free cat adoption programs could save the lives of thousands of cats across the country. So I'd be happy to share this with anybody who needs to convince others that it's a good idea to reduce and lower and even waive fees to save lives. Our Seniors for Seniors program actually is a fee-waived program that we have going all the time. As you all know, older pets are harder to place, so animals that are 6 years of age or older can be adopted in our shelter by people who are 55 and up, and we waive the fee. They meet all the other usual requirements, but we waive that fee, and it gets a lot of older pets into the homes of seniors, and that's a great benefit to the people as well as the pets. We also reduce fees for special needs pets. We find that it helps people give these animals a second look, and I know the Richmond SPCA actually has an Angel Pets program that provides ongoing vet care for selected special needs animals, and I don't see Robin, but I'm sure she could tell you more about how that works at their shelter. We also have worked very hard to streamline the adoption process. Waiting periods and costly fees that many places feel are going to ensure a good match, they really don't. All they do is slow down your ability to save lives. And so we have worked to make our adoption process as friendly as possible for people. All of our animals are spayed and neutered in advance, so it makes that process pretty quick and speedy. And in most cases, people can take the pet home that very same day. Again, I just have to tell you, this concept that impulse adoptions are bad is really just an old myth hanging around from the past that we really all need to let go of. And what we need to put our focus on is the bond between the person and the pet, ensuring that the person gains or has some knowledge of animal behavior and that they have reasonable expectations of the pet that they're adopting and of having a pet. Those are the things you can do that are going to ensure that you have good, sound pet adoptions. We've worked to make all of our adoptions forms and the entire process as user-friendly as possible. Paperwork and policies, of course, they're a critical part of the whole thing, but sometimes I think in our zeal to ensure that pets are going to good homes, we end up alienating potentially good pet adopters. So for us, a lot of what we do is actually, yes, they fill out an application, but a lot of it is an interview form, and our adoption counselors have an interview guide, which they go down these key points with the people conversationally, and we find we learn a lot more about them, and then the person is more receptive to hearing from you as well and learning during the process, so that you're increasing the chances that this will be an effective adoption. So for us, rather than rigorous grilling and adherence to rules, we really are prioritizing getting to know the person as an individual and saving lives. shirts, make it easy to identify our staff and volunteers. It also helps create a nice sense of cohesiveness in the staff. We created a barn cat adoption program to enable the feral cats who come into animal services to get out alive. I'm happy to share details on it, but there is a wonderful website, barncats.org, that has a Katrina rescue presentation on their site. It's on the right-hand side. If you look at that, it will tell you how this wonderful group in Dallas started a program, and ours is modeled on theirs, but again, I'm happy to share. Let's see here. This is how we house the cats in the shelter, and they go out in this carrier to their new place. Another key for us is spotting problems during the follow-up. We do a follow-up call on every adoption. When there is a problem, when we hear even the hint of a problem, we follow up again. In fact, we have the most skilled person on staff call the person back. That's our animal help desk manager. And she is able to turn around 70% of the troubled adoptions. So we reduce the number of animals that are coming back in by helping people to fix an issue by spotting it early and getting right after it. Now, another key here, this is the next phase, is getting the word out and getting people into the shelter. Suzanne Kogut talked about this morning, and I can tell you that it's critically important that we aggressively and continuously promote adoptions. And for us, we work to do this in fun ways. We look for ideas that are going to get media attention. We try to create excitement around pet adoptions. Our staff actually brainstorms ideas. We steal ideas from other shelters. You are very welcome to borrow ours and use them in your shelter. And again, I think others talked about this before, but in addition to the news releases and PSAs, we find that just creating in our own shelter and publisher a simple 8.5 by 11 inch poster, emailing this to all of our volunteers, asking them to print it and post it, is a great, very cheap grassroots way to get the word out about our adoption efforts. So now I'm just going to try to move really, really quickly here through the various things that trigger ideas for us for adoption promotions throughout the year. An obvious one is holidays, and I mentioned how we opened on New Year's Day, and this was our Get Help with Your New Year's Resolution adoption promotion that went on into January. That's actually the first pet adopter of the year. I should have had that one first, I guess, from January 1st to this year, January 1st. Valentine's Day, that's a natural for all of us, obviously, and we have our own sort of little take on this. We do furry speed dating at our shelter. The media loves it. It gets a lot of attention and a lot of play, and that's what you want. You want to get people in your community thinking about how much fun pet adoptions is, what a cool place the shelter is to go, that it's not a scary or depressing place. And the media is looking for stories with visuals. So if you can create them, they will love you. This year we augmented we had the furry speed dating during the day, and then at night we partnered with a dating service and we had a singles night at the shelter, and we stayed open late. It was a lot of fun. We do a Mardi Gras parade in the shelter. The volunteers love it. They decorate floats. They dress up themselves. We get a few dogs that don't mind getting dressed up and dress them up. We tie into pretty much every holiday you can think of. St. Patrick's Day was our lucky stars, lucky shamrocks, where animals that had been in the shelter for a while got a shamrock on their cage card, and it was to encourage people to adopt those animals by reducing fees. Truly, I can tell you, inspiration can come from anywhere. We get a lot of what we call our fan mail from this one particular guy. And I don't know if you can read it, but it says, "Adopt a super pet. I can't believe how shamelessly our organization is hijacking the holidays and events. You even leached off the Super Bowl. What's next? Adopt a pet for Arbor Day? Give me a break." So we irritate this person all the time, and we have a thick stack of emails, and some of them generate good ideas. So we thought about it, and Arbor Day, you know, you've got trees and dogs, and it really is a natural. So we partnered with a local nursery, and they donated a tree. You got a coupon for a free tree if you adopted, and we also had off-site adoptions at the nursery that day, and it's a lot of fun, and it gets people thinking. This was our Mother's Day promotion. Again, people often ask me, how do you do all these off-site, off-price adoptions? How do you do all these adoption sales? And one thing that I can tell you that helps is that on the bottom of our adoption contract that they're signing, it tells them the actual fee for us to care for each animal, which is $240. And we ask for an additional donation. And a fair number of people give it. We also ask verbally for this donation. And it really does help. God, I can't, Mark, do you remember how much we raised last year? You probably don't remember. It was, I want to say it was like $72,000 over the adoption desk by asking. So you can, we find that that helps. We ask, and it's in writing on the application. Plus, the public expects you to save lives, and the more lives you save, the more you trumpet the success, and the more you ask for their help, and the more donors and supporters you're going to have. As I said, we opened most holidays. On the 4th of July, we did an ice cream social, got people in the shelter. It was a lot of fun. Safe trick-or-treating we do every year. That is great fun for the staff and for the public. The dogs are in costume and people come in. It's really a great kind of family event that we do. We also tie into local holidays. This is Nevada Day, which and it's not Nevada. I had to learn it's Nevada. Nevada Day. In Reno, we have the great Reno balloon races, so we tie into this. It's a big community event. On August nights is for old, what's the right word, antique car aficionados, I guess, vintage cars. So we tie into that. We've also tied into Art Town, which is a community-wide month-long art event. We actually had an art show at the shelter. We had some of Cyrus Mejia's art there last year. We call it the Prospective Art Show. Here's some of the local artists with shelter staff. A great way to reach out to a new group of people, get people into the shelter for the first time and thinking about the animals. We partner with local businesses. The Peppermill Casino, for one. Another great thing about getting really good at marketing and getting your name in the paper all the time is that instead of you begging businesses to partner with you, they will come to you. Nevada Energy approached us because they wanted to get energy-saving light bulbs into the hands of thousands of people. And they thought to do it with pet adoptions would be a great idea. So we had the idea of partnering. We also work with Pet Network and the SPCA, so we said, well, how about we include them when we do it as a community-wide thing? And for all of last year, we gave away energy-saving light bulbs. And this is because they thought we do a good job of marketing. We didn't have to ask them. Mars Pet Care has a warehouse nearby, and the employees came down. They sponsored this day. They placed this ad in the local paper. So we had free help, a free ad. Pet adopters got free food. This is Hotel for Dogs. We shamelessly hijack and borrow any idea that's in the media that we think is going to potentially call attention to the animals. Hotel for Dogs was kind of a natural one. As you guys know, these stamps are just being released now. We're going to be down at the post office next week. We've done a joint news release with the post office, and we'll have pets out there for adoption. These are great stamps. They actually are adopted animals if you haven't seen the release on the U.S. Postal Service site. We also borrow things from other shelters all the time. These are actually ideas that other shelters came up with, and we did them with our own little twist. I hope you go home and do the same. Adopt a mini panther, all dressed up and nowhere to go. These were events to move black animals in particular who tended to stay in the shelter for longer periods of time. So we moved the black cats up front and put rhinestone collars on them and put bandanas, colorful ones, on the black dogs. This we stole from Michigan Humane Society. They did a... People love this. It's a lot of fun, you know, and you go to the Michigan Humane Society site, they have a great commercial. It looks like a car dealer, too, hawking the cats. It's great. And that was a summer-long free cat adoption event at Michigan Humane Society. You know, we tie into all kinds of stuff. Our little twist for this was we got a local artist to design this. Whoops, it's actually like a stand-up thing, and people put their faces in it and then get their pictures taken when they adopted a pet, so that was kind of our fun little twist. Real House Pets of Washoe County. This was done for free, this artwork, by a volunteer, so we got a place to donate little buttons that the staff and volunteers wore to help with the promotion. Have you heard of Bridezilla? Well, if those horrible ladies can find someone to love them, we figured that our difficult chihuahuas and moody cats could find love too, so we did a Petzilla adoption event. It was pretty good. It was fun. I mean, you're still talking about sort of difficult pets, but yeah, it was interesting. Big Love adoption event is our month-long thing, and to try to keep it interesting, we do different things like adopt 2 kittens for the price of 1. We have Family Fun Carnival and our kitten shower where we try to get stuff donated for the foster care program. It's definitely a fun little event. This year we added a new event. It was our Be a Superhero, Adopt a Pet promotion. These are some of the shelter decorations. These things were just plastic sheets. We bought them at the dollar store for $1 a piece. And a staff member blew up faces of animals and stuck them on there. And kids just loved seeing it. And it's so cheap. You don't even have to spend a lot of money to do this stuff. Again, a volunteer designed this little logo, and we got the buttons donated for staff and volunteers. We react to the shelter population, and we do, you know, fun stuff for the various holidays. And the summer dog days for us includes pool parties for the dogs. We get those inexpensive plastic pools. We actually have them in the summer anyway for the dogs, and it makes a fun thing to invite the media down for that. When we are full of cats, we do $10 cat adoptions. We've even done some fee-waived adoption promotions with great success. This year we were able to move 240 animals in 3 days by doing a fee-waived event when we had a lot of animals and we needed to do something. And we do end up turning down a few more people than normal when we waive the fee, but the vast majority of people, great homes. So the concept that you're not going to get good people just isn't accurate. This is our Feline Frenzy. We actually tied it into a really cheap cat spay or neuter. We had our own twist on the fat cat thing as well. Playing off fat cat, it's sort of double meaning there, and more love per pound kind of thing. When we have a lot of bunnies, we've done Adopt a Bunny Honey. How are we doing? Tuxedo Tuesday is a new thing that we started doing this year. That's been pretty effective. We run generic adoption ads too. We try to ask for free space. You'll be surprised how often you can get space donated totally free of charge by asking, or deep discounts for nonprofits. And these are some of the ads that we've run that just promote the concept of pet adoption. We had done electronic billboards, very inexpensive, and again, you can get good nonprofit rates. We tie into national events. This is the Pet Adopt-a-thon, which was just a couple of weeks ago. We stayed open 36 straight hours. Again, it's a great event, a great way to get attention, and there's all kinds of materials already produced for you through North Shore Animal League. During Christmas, we do Home for the Holidays. How many of you guys do Home for the Holidays? I'm telling you, it's a great, great event. We just have a wonderful time with it. We set an aggressive goal, and we have lots of the media actually tracks with us. Where are we in our goal for this year? It's a fun thing. These are some of the ads that we do this year. One of the papers did this for free for us, the 12 Strays of Christmas, as part of Home for the Holidays. This ad's paid for by a local car dealer. Again, we did, buttons to help with staff and volunteer promotion. These are some of the other ads. And that was a result in 5 weeks for Home for the Holidays, over 1,000 pet adoptions. We also, like probably all of you, end up dealing with hoarding cases from time to time. This is one in particular. Here are some images from some of the cats coming in. Let's see. We try to put a fun angle on it. And we try not to come down too hard on the hoarder, too. I don't think it really makes us look that good when we come across as very severe and very judgmental. I think a lot of times these people who have mental illness, or it's someone good intentioned who got in way over their head. And so the more compassionate you can be, the better I think we ultimately come off looking to the public. Also, I think that if you paint these animals as too sick, disease-ridden, in a deplorable condition, who is going to want to adopt them? And the ultimate goal is to patch these guys up and get them adopted. So I think that we catch more flies with honey than with vinegar, and that by being positive about that the person, also if you want other hoarders to come forward, people who need help, and you are crucifying them in the media, what motivation is there for someone to come forward to you for help before it gets to that point? So I think there's lots of good reasons for not coming across as too harsh in these situations. The Great Orange Cat Rescue, all 54 of the mostly orange and white kitties that came in from one situation, they all got placed. This is another one from last summer, the Cold Springs cats arriving on a very hot day in August. That's our news release. Again, the focus is on what we need the public to do rather than on how terrible the person was that did this. And we try to house the cats together because we find when we get a lot of media, people actually come into the shelter looking for these particular animals. One of the things we did, those photos I just showed you, we took them right as the animals were arriving. And it so happened that this time a TV crew was in the shelter anyway, because we're always getting lots of PR, and they jumped in, and it was on the evening news. And we sent about 15 of these types of images to the Reno Gazette-Journal, and fast, that very day. And they put them up on their homepage as a little photo album. And we got someone to put it out over Twitter for us. And the newspaper got 10,000 hits to look at these images of these cats coming in to the shelter. And then we had a couple of dog hoarding cases, fast on the heels of each other. These are some of the dogs. And again, we did the same thing. We took pictures as the dogs were coming in. We got them to the Reno Gazette-Journal. They put them up, and they had 35,000 hits. Well, you can imagine the Reno Gazette-Journal loves us. They love news about the animals because they think animals are the hottest thing ever. So you can, by giving the media what they need, which is a story and visuals, you can get them to help you when you really need it. These are just more of those dogs. Another challenge that we had that came along rather suddenly and unexpectedly was road construction. You can kind of see here the whole street in front of our shelter was torn up. In fact, they had planned to close the street for Saturday and Sunday without telling us. Well, I learned about it on Friday or Thursday maybe, and I called the county commissioner and one of our board members who's a radio personality, and suddenly, with their phone calls, we got a total turnaround from the construction company and from Reno Transportation Authority. And they ran this nearly full-page ad in the paper twice for us free of charge, and they ensured that we had street access. Well, we were able to adopt out, what do I have here? I think it was 201 animals that weekend by waiving the fee as a reward for the people who would drive their cars over, whoops, if I can get this to go, over this, to get to the shelter. So you can even take, we usually maybe do 80 adoptions in a weekend, not 201. So this was a case with something potentially disastrous. If we'd been shut down for adoptions for 2 days in September, could have been horrible, but we were able to turn it into a really positive thing through community contacts and you know, risking doing waived fee adoptions to get people in, which worked out to be great. Let's see. We also promote individual pets. These are weekly ads in the paper paid for by a car dealership. This was a two-page ad in the newspaper paid for by yet a different car dealership that highlighted all these animals. And again, when you make these relationships in the community, you can ask for things and get a tremendous amount of support. This is the board that we have up in our shelter that helps people find the pets. These are all the different pets of the week that we're doing every week. And when someone comes in, it's really important that they're able to find that pet. So this makes it easy for them. We also do staff picks, just like your local video store or bookstore. The staff loves it. It's a lot of fun. It calls attention to pets that have been in the shelter for a while. And again, we really take animals with hard luck cases, like this is little Cat Stevens who came in with a broken leg, or Sandy, this old geriatric crotchety dog, and we tell their stories. Each of this little guy had her ears cut off. One of these cats had its foot frozen to a grate. I forget what was up with this doggy, but there was something. And so we tell these individual stories, which are compelling to us, and they're very compelling to your donors and supporters and to potential adopters. This is Angel, a pit bull. She actually found these kittens, which somebody had abandoned in a box under a shrub. We never would have seen them. And Angel received national media attention because we sent out a news release about it. She was adopted by someone who drove from California to adopt her, and she was actually nominated as Red Cross Hero of the Year. So telling these individual stories is very compelling to your supporters. When we have a difficult animal, we do an individual pitch on them. Beautiful lady with an attitude. We have a volunteer who does poems about the animals, and this is, I don't know if anyone remembers, I'm looking over a four-leaf clover. Well, you know, John takes these old tunes and writes little poems about the different animals. It makes it fun, it's different. This is how we promote barn cats. These are the little ads that we run. We talk about them as non-toxic pest control, adopt a barn cat. That's the poster that we use for them. Again, I guess in closing, I would just like to say to you, please don't buy into the concept that there are not enough homes for all of them. There are. It's really just a matter of us challenging ourselves. We can do it. We just need to do the marketing. Truly, I think that I've seen that there really is a home for every animal, barring those with severe medical conditions for whom euthanasia is the most humane solution, and those animals actually pose a risk to public safety. Pretty much everyone else, you can find that perfect someone for them just with the right marketing. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, there's my contact information. Thank you.